expect Casey to be okay?
We expect him to be okay. He's day to day at the very. I shouldn't even say day to day. He didn't practice today. We expect him to practice tomorrow.
When you think of Benson, any 18-year-old coming in, we always talk about offense. I mean, the kid has shown more at the other end of the ice too than you would expect. Has that been the biggest thing in your mind that puts him over the top for now? Is he does have some idea how to be responsible?
He would not be in the position he is with our roster, being on our roster, if he could be as prolific as anybody offensively, but if he didn't have what you're referring to, defensive instincts, positionally pretty sound, he wouldn't be on the roster right now. He just wouldn't, and that's usually why players have to go to the American League. They have to learn how to play without the puck. The immense amount of responsibility you have in the NHL when you don't have the puck, and he is shown to be very proficient in that area, and that helps him get to offense faster. You know, most players miss that concept, but when you're in position defensively, pucks come to you, and he puts himself in a position very, very consistently where pucks have to go through him or near him, which means you can either pick it off or you're in a good position to defend. And you know, he's incorporated that more as an offensive instinct that there's no question that quality is probably the single most. He could have all the other qualities. If you don't have that one, you're probably not on a roster right now.
You and Kevin both said yesterday he makes lines better, regardless of which line he's on. Is that the kind of thing that does that makes players around him better?
It is. You nailed it there, Jordan. When that's what you're looking for. Get to offense, be more efficient and proficient on defense, so you can get to offense. And again, it's almost a natural for him. There's a lot of natural to it because he wants the puck and he wants to get to offense. He's an offensively gifted player, but he's figured out how the benefit of being good defensively is you get the puck quicker and you get it more. So really, as I say it, very impressive.
How much do you think you accelerated him by putting him in preseason with Skinner and Thompson?
I could only guess. I put him with all of the young guys, Rosine, Kulik, with two, experienced players or returning players. And that was part of splitting Tuck away from Thompson and Skinner, too. It was Tuck and Middlestead with the young guy. It was Skinner and Thompson with the young guy, so we could move these young guys along faster. And I think all of our returning players really helped that initiative. What I wanted to do as Benson, as Zach started playing, established himself playing well, was the next phase. You have to deal with pressure. Our team is dealing with pressure now that we played well last year. So it's a whole different ballgame when you get to that next level. And expectations are definitive that you had a really good game, in this case for Zach Benson in game one. The buzz is, oh my God, he looked good with Thompson and Skinner. Is all that hype going to pull him out of it? Is he going to succumb to more hype or pressure? And he obviously didn't. He was even better the next game. I don't think the first game was Washington. I don't think he played with those two, but he had been practicing with those two. So he had a real good game, then he goes with those two in a game. He follows it up with a good game. Keep him with him in practice. There's more pressure mounting. Everybody's talking about this kid more and more. He handles that pressure. It doesn't affect him in a negative way. And you guys have reported on pro athletes, and when that pressure mounts, it changes him. It has an effect on him. Through that whole camp, none of that had an effect on him. That was very important for me. That was something that I was tracking, and I thought he was, and that's an indicator for me of how his feel for the game is, and it didn't interfere with that because he reads plays very well. So that pressure he can handle because he still goes out on the ice. He goes, I know I should pass to Tomer right now, and I know I shouldn't. Some guys are like, I'm playing with Tage Thompson. I better get him the puck. So they can't read with anything that's in front of them because they look at Tage and they think of, they got his hockey card and everybody at home is calling him and saying, hey, you're playing with Tage, you're doing great, and Skinner. And so he handled that very, very well.
What you were just talking about being, if you're proficient defensively, you can get the puck and transition into offense.
Yeah, I didn't say you could transition it. You could get the puck. That whole transition is a whole other thing.
Okay.
That's if you're proficient defensively. It doesn't mean you're
I understand.
proficient offensively, but
But the concept itself, do you find as a coach that sometimes it's difficult to get that through to certain players?
well, it's always your challenge, I guess, as a coach. Our business is trying to improve your players, improve the team, and obviously win hockey games. So, but you have lots of different initiatives. That's one. You have certain players that are really good at killing plays. You look at a defenseman, and I always think through the league. You look at defensemen that kill plays, and you watch him. You're like, oh my God, look at how physical he is, how strong he is. He can kill a play. What good is it if you kill it and you can't transition it? So you might give a guy 10 great marks for killing a play and running somebody over, but he gets the puck and it ends up back in your zone and he ends up running another guy over, and he runs 3 guys over, and you think, wow, he just ran 3 guys over on one shift. Well, the second 2 times he didn't move the puck up. So you have to have both, and everybody has to continually understand that as a concept in the game, and wherever they're at, make improvements. So we're always watching for that, evaluating guys for that, and to that type of an initiative. Shorter time on defense, how do we kill plays faster, and then how do we transition plays cleaner, would be, kind of the big picture.
More on how you saw him handling that type of pressure. To us, when we talked to Benson, he seems so chill about this type of moment. But I guess internally, have you asked him how he feels about that media coverage and pressure? Is there any way you try to poke at him to get answers?
No, I mean his actions speak. Your actions speak, and I don't feel a need to talk to him about that. He's not distracted by it because he has full confidence on the ice and reading and reacting to situations. It's the player that might not have full confidence. Maybe he had a great performance, but he's not, and then that pressure pulls him out of it. So there's stuff he still has to learn in that regard. He's got a lot of natural ability there. That means pressure really won't mount on him because he can read and react to play. He knows when to pass to this guy and when not to pass to that guy. That's a sense and a feel. And so when you have that, you don't feel pressure. It's like this. Late in the game, guys can be flying up and down the rink, but the last 5 minutes of a game evaluate players. You look at, wow, this superstar just scored. This guy always scores when the pressure's on. Well, what really happens when you watch that enough in sports, it's the other 9 guys panic when there's 5 minutes left. They seize up. There's so much pressure, they actually back off the skilled player, and they give that skilled player more time and space than he had the first 55 minutes because they're starting to tighten up. And then everybody's at the end of the game says, oh my God, it's that skilled player did it again with 5 minutes left. And I've watched film over and over. It's not necessarily that skilled player. It's the guys tightened up under pressure and gave him more time and space and allowed him to make that play. And so, you see who are the real gamers in that regard, and he has attributes of that.
Was there anything in the lead up to the draft that gave you a sense that some of that was in him?
All I could tell in the lead up to the draft was passion in the room, because I'd sit in a room with the scouts. Now, I don't watch the amateur players very much, just watch a little maybe on film. I obviously watched a ton of them when I coached at that level. I'd sit in the scouting room, they'd talk about a player, and I'd pop them up on my computer and watch a few shifts and listen to the attributes they spoke of. And I can tell you with Zach, we had him ranked very high, much higher than where we selected him, so he fell to us at that point, and our room was ecstatic that happened. And that's all I knew. The passion that our scouts had for Zach, and we were able to get him at 13 was I think amazing based on what I heard in that room for the few days before the draft.
As far as the goalies go, you spoke the other day about how 3 can work because they're younger, they're still fighting for their chance and so forth. But what maybe with their personalities makes it work? Because they all seem pretty affable and they all you know what I mean? There has to be something else maybe just within them interacting for it to work, I guess.
Well, they're all 3 in a position in their career where they have to continually focus on getting better. None of the 3 have established themselves as a number 1 guy in the NHL. So if you had somebody in there that was established number one, it would be a different dynamic completely. And so we don't. So, and as far as, three goalies and making it work, that is a decision we made, that for various reasons, that we're going to go with three goalies out of the gate, and we can continue to evaluate that. But now making it work is on us. We have to make it work now. So it hasn't worked yet. We have to make it work. So I don't see that we've made it work yet, but there's different factors and components into it, and that's one that's really simple. We don't have anybody that's established himself as a number one NHL goalie yet. And so those three players know that. They're working to as a goal, as an aspiration to do that. And this is something, until you get that net as a number one or a top six spot on defense, you better focus on work and not, and just come to work every day to be better. And they have a great focus on that.
You didn't get a preseason to evaluate Matt Savoy, but what have you seen from him since he's been back on the ice, and what are the challenges in trying to just evaluate him based on practice?
Yeah, when you watch Matt Savoy, and we try to evaluate Matt right now with only a few practices, I have a lot of hindsight and feel from where he was a year ago in our practices or at camp, and he took the experience of last year, which was, he had no hindsight coming into an NHL camp of size, speed, strength, intelligence of players, and then familiarity with personalities on our team. Older players have made him feel welcome, and he has come back, and really you can tell that he's targeted the right areas to prepare for this camp. He's showing his quickness, his very dynamic quickness and agility and mobility, slipping in and out and pressuring pucks, and his release and shot are stronger and harder. So he's got a little more pop, or a lot more pop than he did a year ago. And I think a lot of that had to do with being the hindsight of last year's training camp, being disappointed. He thought he would have done better, I think, last year as a competitor. When he left camp, he expressed that in his own terms, that, I learned a lot, and what I learned is I need to be better. And in his words, however he said it, I remember that as a takeaway for him. And he has shown that he's targeted very well, because he's a better player right now.
You've had Clifton with Johnson the last couple of games. What are you looking forward to those guys, or is it just a temporary?
Well, I think to back up, I had Clifton and Johnson paired with guys that were familiar with all our drills and all our systems, and they could walk them through practice day in and day out and day in and day out, and build them and acquaint them to what we're doing. I think as we move into the home opener, based on watching games and information that I've taken in, I feel that we're best to start right now with the familiarity of Dahlin and Samuelsson and Jokiharju and Power, and those two guys now go together with a greater feel of what the overall picture is, and a little bit less pressure, in the sense of, we know that Samuelsson and Dahlin are, when they're going, and so I think that's a lot of why they were in the spots they were in prior, and why they're in those spots today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.